Hey, welcome to Bluejay Banter. We are live here at Let It Fly. Tim Kruger along with Ross Ferrarini. How you doing, Ross?
I'm all good. How are you?
I am excellent.
I'm even really good because you know why?
Why?
We've got 14 NBA games on tonight, which I know you're thrilled about.
14 NBA games, and I'm going to watch the Giants and Packers.
I'm also going to watch those.
Welcome to the show. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the like button. It helps us out so much. Sharing the word with all the Jays fans, so make sure you do that. And while you're there, if you've missed any of our other shows, go back on and view them, like post-game Josh and I did on Saturday after the Jays' big win, and then also the post-game show we did after the Nebraska game. It's been viewed by a lot of people, so check it all out. Thanks for listening and joining. Today we're going to have Coach Booth on later, an interview I did earlier today, kind of wrapping up the volleyball season. Tremendous effort by the team, getting to the Sweet 16 and losing in 5 tough sets to Louisville, who then in turn lost in 5 tough sets to Pittsburgh after Louisville took a 2-0 lead against them and somehow lost. And then we're going to really jump into a huge week in men's basketball. But first, I want to ask Ross about the game Saturday. You were on the color commentary, so how did the first game of the year go for you?
Good. I generally, probably on average, do 3 to 4 a year, 3 to 5. I actually, oddly enough, didn't do any last year, but it was good. It was good to be back. I think the last time I had done one was Big East Tournament 2022, which was a ton of fun. We went into that run and had a great game with Nova in the Big East title game that year.
Sure.
And, no, this one, the one on Saturday is pretty easy.
Did you have a lot of fill? A lot of things to fill?
Last 10 minutes, there's a lot to fill with. But it was good because those last number of, 8 to 10 minutes, you're getting a lot of the reserves in, so it was good to see them and some game action, obviously, extended minutes. So, that was a serious beatdown. That Central Michigan team is really bad.
Yeah, well, I called it. And that's when working with John is great, because John's great about, like, going off script a little bit and just
John's really good. He's really good
talk
at what
about
he does.
things,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think if I remember correctly, our 4s and 5s were 27 to 31. And they weren't all Kalkbrenner and King dunks. I mean, there were a lot of threes jacked up there too.
Between Fred, Isaac, and Mason, they were like a combined. I think they were 18 of 22 from the field or something like that.
Well, Kalk was 7 of 7, so you throw him in there.
It was.
And then Jason was 2 for 2. So
Isaac only played 12 and a half minutes.
Yeah, I know it.
And I know it. So you want to talk about efficiency?
His shot just looks better and better every game.
Yeah, he can tell he's shooting with a lot of confidence right now, which is good. That's what you want going into conference play.
No, I hate knocking wood, but there is going to be a game when you don't drop like every other player experiences. But right now, and then he's getting that one time as Josh and I talked about. I was so impressed he ran the floor so well in the first half and got a wide open dunk.
Yeah, no, he's doing a lot of the little things to try and get on the floor. You can tell Isaac is a really good kid, and I think he works really hard. I think he's going to do what it takes outside of just, being a guy that just shoots the ball. From 3, I think he's going to try and do whatever he can to earn minutes. Obviously, it's hard to earn minutes with this team, consistent minutes, but I'm certainly glad. I feel confident in somebody like him coming off the bench. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And it was nice to see Mason kind of get his groove back too.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, just all around good effort. The only guy that just didn't shoot it very well was Steven. He was the only guy that didn't shoot the ball well. But when we were talking with Murph after the game, I said, yeah, but when your 4s go 9 for 11. That's what this team can do. One guy's off, a couple other guys step up and make it happen.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about Steven. We talked about it. He's looked a lot more comfortable than he did the first few games. Obviously his ability to shoot and get hot is something that's really key for this team going into conference play. So I like where the team is right now. I like how cohesive they are. Obviously, offensively, they're a joy to watch. That ball whips around. There's very, very, very little wasted movement, wasted dribbles with them, which is a lot of fun to watch because, it's funny. We've talked about this in the past. When you go from, you're so used to watching us all season and watching us intently, obviously, because we're huge fans. And then, you go and you watch some of these other games on TV, and you're just the quality of play doesn't seem there, because you realize, like, aesthetically, we are about as pleasing of a college basketball team year in and year out to watch. Okay,
Totally agree.
Maybe there's a year or two where it's not as smooth.
Well, there's,
of
there's
others,
stretches in games and things like that, but you're
gosh,
absolutely right.
You watch some of these other teams, and it's just you forget how well coached we are.
I was watching a game. I forget which one it was. I was watching a game just over the weekend, and the point guard got the high ball screen, rolled off it, and he starts to dribble. Then he stops, and he dribbles. And I'm like, okay, I'm so. Like you're saying, I'm so in tune with watching Creighton. They're like, okay, that pass is going to go back out to the wing now.
Right.
No, he kept dribbling and got himself into trouble. It's just like,
there's a lot of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are very happy to have as one of our sponsors the Infusion Brewing Company right here in Omaha. 2 great locations, 2 great tasting rooms. Go and check them out whenever you can. They were established in Benson. They got one down in the Papillion area as well. Terrific lineup of beers. We always talk about Let It Fly right here. I had one at the game on Saturday, actually. Someone bought me a Let It Fly. And then on yesterday, we went and watched a little football, me and my wife, and she had a Infusion Vanilla Bean, which is one of her favorites. So she had that as well. So Southwest Omaha and also in Benson, the 2 tasting room. They have Christmas seasonal beers as well, like the Christmas Cookie Vanilla Bean as well. So check them out. That's Infusion Brewing, and they're one of our sponsors. We're happy to have them aboard. And that leads us into our interview I did earlier today with head coach Kirsten Bernthal Booth, and we'll play that for you now and hope you enjoy it.
All right, we'll kick it off. All right, we are joined by Kirsten Bernthal Booth, head volleyball coach at Creighton University. Thanks for joining us, Coach. How are you?
I'm doing okay, thanks.
Well, congratulations on the great season.
Thanks. I'm not mentally there for that, but still a little bit of mourning. But I know eventually I'll be able to appreciate what a great year it was.
Come on, you're the process person. I would expect, come on.
I can look back on some processes over that 5-game loss that I wish I had back.
Maybe one call. All right. Geez, what a regional. Paul Sunderland, who most people know, for his years covering volleyball, he's been around forever. He said it right at the beginning. He goes, I think this Sweet 16 matchup with these 4 teams is as close as there can be in the country. And it turned out that way with 2 5-setters.
Yeah. 2 of the 3 matches were really competitive and could have gone either way, and a lot of great volleyball. So, it was great to be a part of it. Definitely tells our returning players that, we are in the mix with that top echelon of teams, and hopefully that'll drive us going forward starting in January.
Right. What kind of turned that match? I mean, it was so close, back and forth through 4 sets. The 5th set, Louisville raced out. What kind of turned that match?
I thought in the 5th set, we had some passing breakdowns and just missed some attacks that we had been having some success with. And part of that was the passes created some one-dimensional plays a little bit. I don't know if anything broke down. I thought we, competed, some calls didn't go our way. That's for sure at a pretty, we get a call overturned that, we can't say anything about, but it would have made it 4-5 as compared to 6-3, which in a 5th game is a big deal. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. I mean, I think they made some great plays. I mean, they made a really good block at a really important time that I can remember. So it wasn't, I thought we stayed aggressive. They just made more plays than we did.
Gosh, I thought Anna Beer really impressed me for Louisville.
Yeah, I mean, that's why she's been ACCA Player of the Year. She's the All-Region Player of the Year. She's a baller and played some really good volleyball.
Yeah. I know that in your post-game press conference, you mentioned about the camera angles. That kind of blew me away that in when we're this far down the road, there's only 4 sites and the NCAA is usually in their postseason tournaments, matches, whatever, are very strict on everything's got to be the same. It shocked me that we don't have the same camera angles.
Yeah, and I leave tomorrow morning to go to Tampa for convention, and I've already talked about putting this on the agenda. And actually, before the match, you go see the camera angles if you want to. So I'd gone with the official to see what the camera angles were, and I was told prior that, hey, on the sidelines we don't have a camera, so we're not going to be able to make good sideline calls most likely. So I went to the site rep who's on the NCAA committee and said, hey, can you make sure this is on the agenda for when we meet? Because I get to be part of those meetings in February with my AVCA role. Can you make sure this is on the agenda? Because we need to mandate this of the expectations. I mean, it's like 101. There should be a camera on both sidelines and both baselines and on the net. Like, those are the ones you have to have. And then you add some other ones, maybe a high up and that can zoom in. But you have to have those cameras. So I got to tell you, I was shocked pre-match to find out they weren't there. And then unfortunately it came into play in the match.
That's the way things go, isn't it? Like, yeah. The one thing, yeah, you mentioned, so you are going to be head of the AVCA?
American Volleyball Coaches Association. Yeah. Well, I will be the president of the coaches, but they have a whole staff that they do most of the running.
Yeah, but you're the president of the Coach Association, basically. Yes. Yep. Right. So when does that start?
Well, I've been president-elect this past year. The head coach at Minnesota is the current president. And then I will take over after this convention. So basically January 1 will be my term next year as the president. And then it's a 3-year term. So the following year I'll be past president.
Okay. So do you, how, from a time management perspective, is that, I mean, you're going to have to juggle some things?
I will say our Coaches Association is phenomenal. One of the best in the country. And I feel like one of the reasons our sport has grown, and actually the longtime executive director just retired, and we have a new one as of this summer. And I think we made another great hire in Jamie Gordon. He's former head Division I coach and former athletic director. So he's got some big cachet. So their staff does a great job. We're kind of the face. And then if crises hit or if we need some decision making, our board is going to be the people that a lot of times they'll lean on. And then we'll go to the constituency and start asking our people of what do they think. But, I was the Division I representative 6-7 years ago. And what I found was you do put some time in for sure, but you learn so much. Like, you learn how the legislative process works. So, like, for instance, again, it's not even sour grapes. Like I said, I went to the site rep prior to the match and said, we need to make this change. And, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have known how to make that change. I would have been like, well, that's a bummer that we don't have those cameras. Now I'm like, hey, I know what we need to do, what levers we need to push to try to see if we can make these changes for our sport and make it better. And, I've met so many great people, which helps with scheduling. There's a lot of things that you get out. And I think that's the same with any volunteer organization in any profession. You do put time in, but I think you get a lot more out of it.
Connections, man.
Yeah, right? For sure. Sure. And a chance to make change and improve something that you care a lot about.
Yeah. I don't know if this falls under the officiating or that, but in Omaha, in the match against the Minnesota match, I happened to sit next to a gentleman who's been a volleyball referee for like 25 years, So I was like picking his bracket, just I had to go, hey, I'm a novice here. So, help me out, So we're going through a bunch of things. And he was really, really great to talk to about different things. And, one of the things that I've always wondered about, and this is silly, we're getting way off base here, but this is silly. Like, when there's a timeout, the two referees have to come and stand by the chair. And I'm like, can I ask you a question? Why do we do this? He goes, I've been a ref for 25 years. I have no idea why we do this.
Why the line judges you're talking about come and stand by the
official? And he's like telling me, like, in men's, he goes, well, I think it's so they don't want anybody to talk to the coaches. So they want to move over here. But he goes, in men's, they just wander around. And I think he said in USA volleyball, they have to stand at the end of the court, but not all the way over. And I go, yeah, the one guy has to walk a long ways and the other guy, and he goes, that's a joke among us before the matches started. Like, who wants to walk? Who wants to come up? I found that
their 10,000 steps.
My little thing that always bugged me. I thought, oh, okay, this is off my plate now because he doesn't get it either. Do you
Yeah,
wish
I
you
don't
had
have
them?
an answer for you on that one.
Do you wish you had them right there so you could kind of get in their ear a little bit?
No, no.
All right. This is we're going to get into a big broader talk before we circle back to your team. Okay, so this happened in I think in the last press conference in Pittsburgh. Okay, a gentleman brought, and first of all, kudos to you for not leveling this guy that brought up the term mid-major. Okay, I was cringing as I was hearing that. You're far from a mid-major, that's for sure. So is in most sports in the Big East are far from mid-majors, right? But the broader topic later on I saw on Twitter got into power conference schools. Like Creighton was the only non-power conference school, and I didn't even think about that. I was like, yeah, so, and then the bigger topic got on Twitter. Well, the power schools have more money, da 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 da. So I started to think about that, like, and I thought, oh, I need to ask Booth this, like, so is there? Do you think? I just thought it was just a coincidence. Like Creighton's been good for a long time. Like, so we're in the Sweet 16 with other schools. I didn't look at power, non-power, whatever. You know, there's plenty of other schools right here in Omaha. We had Utah State. Okay, um, is there? Is that a thing? I mean, is it just? Do you think it's just coincidence that it happens that way, or is there a fact that the power schools can allocate more funds so that they have a big advantage? I guess the best way to put it. Because I think that's
Well,
where he
it
was going
depends
with his
how,
question. You know, I think that's where he's going with his question, but he didn't really expand on it in the press conference.
I think schools have a choice of how they allocate funds. So you're going to have some, like an SEC school right now, they have a lot more funds for their department than Creighton, right?
Sure.
I don't think anyone questions that. So each administration has to determine how they're going to support programs. So particularly within the Big East, Creighton is well supported. When I started in the Missouri Valley in 2003, we were not well supported. As we got better, we got more and more support. I mean, when I started, I had a really low paid assistant, one assistant, and we didn't even have a full-time second assistant. We had a GA. So, and I didn't have two full-time assistants till about 2010, which was way behind the time. So, we have been underfunded at different times. Now we are funded, I would say, with Power Five, we're fully funded scholarship wise. We have full allotment of assistants, so all those things are great. I think the bigger thing that sometimes we compete against is the image of it, so a media person making those comments immediately maybe triggers a recruit to say, oh, they're not a power program.
Yeah.
So our players, our staff, we don't look at ourselves as, we want to compete for a national championship. We think we can do that. But sometimes we have to compete against being in the Big East. There's no question that most of the kids that we recruit against the Big 10 and the Big 12 most of the time. So we have to talk to those athletes of what we're different and why there's benefits of being in the Big East versus being in the Big 10 or the Big 12. And it's not right or wrong. It's just trying to, get players to see the other side of it, because we get that used against us a lot in recruiting.
I would imagine. Yeah. And basically, I guess where I was coming from is, like, is there something you definitely need to, be it? I don't see that. Maybe there is, but there's schools they can spend money on trinkets. You know what I mean? Like, to
Right.
make it more shiny, but it doesn't really help the product on the floor, help you get recruits, and so on and so forth. So you're basically saying you got pretty much what you need.
Yeah, I mean, you can always say things that you need, Tim. So, I mean,
Sure.
there's definitely things that we continue to fight for. Name, image, and likeness stuff is a whole nother beast that,
Right.
We hope the Omaha community will continue to get behind our program. We need local businesses to support our athletes in those sort of ways. So there's still things that we're constantly competing against. But particularly in the Big East, we are very well supported.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for answering that. It got in my head over the weekend, and I was like, gosh, I don't think we're way behind. We were at one time, like you said, but with in volleyball circles, everybody knows, great, right? All right. So next year, first you got four signees in, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to talk just a minute about those, they look four outstanding young ladies to enter your program.
We have two Nebraska women. First is Nora Wirtz out of DC West. She's actually been injured this high school season. She broke a small bone in her foot and blood didn't get to it, so she had to have surgery, which is always such a bummer to miss her senior year. She's going to early enroll, so she's going to come in January. She's a 6'4" middle blocker, really great young woman, farm kid. I'm just really excited about what she can do long term. Then we have Olivia Hausman out of Norris High School. She's a defensive specialist, has done some setting, kind of a utility player that I think will give us great depth, and just a really great young woman. Emerson Strain out of Colorado is also going to come at semester. So she'll be coming in January. She's a setter out of Colorado. Excited about her upside. And then Sophia Wenlick out of the Milwaukee area. Sophia just won another state championship, plays for a really high level club that has won a lot. And she can play both pins, both left side and right side. And I think all four of them are just really great young women. I mean, as you know, not only do we want talented athletes, but we want great young women. I think that's a separator within our program, is that, you know, we've got team kids rather than me kids. And I think that pays dividends in some of those tight matches that we're able to sometimes pull off.
Year to year to year, do you think, depending on who you have in, does your style change very much, or you pretty much go with your same philosophy, so to speak?
I mean, as a coach, you have things that you approach consistently the same way. And I think I've been in it long enough that sometimes you can tell when your team is doing these things well. I mean, I remember, in probably October, telling the team, like, I know we're winning, but we're not playing well. You know, you can just see things that aren't going the right, like, we're going to have to get better in these areas. But I really try to make sure that as a staff that we are willing to adjust to the group. So if we need to run faster tempo or slower tempo, or lock into doing different patterns, or lean into serving more in a year or blocking in a year, I try to make sure that we're open to how to make that group the best version of themselves. I mean, I remember our COVID year, we had some things that I thought were some concerns, but we were big. So we went into a 6-2 and just put 6'3+ across the front row, because we were like, well, we can block. We're going to make teams have trouble scoring. And we were able to win some matches, some big matches, kind of in that philosophy, which isn't normally, I don't usually run a 6-2 or anything like that. But hopefully, I say that, maybe others would say, no, whatever she's done in the past, she does again. But, that's not, I definitely want to be open to different tempos of sets. Some years we run faster tempos than others. And, I think you're constantly trying to evolve as a coach.
How far do you do scheduling?
Every once in a while we'll get into a 4-year contract with some teams. But generally it's like 2-year contracts, maybe a home and away type situation. But no, I'm still working on scheduling for the fall. And then we're still waiting for the Big East. I think we're going to get it in the next couple of weeks, our schedule for our conference schedule. And honestly, usually when we get the schedule, there's problems and it goes back, and it's usually by spring by the time we finally get the Big East schedule.
Yeah. Anything you want to share with us on the schedule yet?
Nope. I'm still working on it.
Oh, you're just like every other coach.
Too many moving parts at this point.
Well, just tell people what do you do these next couple months here?
Well, like I said, I'm going to be at the convention all this week. So I'm leave tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning, and won't get back till Sunday, stay through the championship. Our championship for the first time is going to be on ABC, which is really a big deal for our sport. Then it's break time. The great thing about being in an academic university is we get between Christmas and New Year's off. And I generally will take that time off, except we'll be hitting the portal, seeing if there's a right fit from a transfer standpoint. And then in January, when we come back, it's really a pretty fun time. We can only work with them 8 hours a week. So what we'll do is they'll do strength and conditioning, usually 3 or 4 mornings a week, and then on court about half the time. And we usually do half that time to 3/4 of that time is small group stuff. So it's really a chance to connect with players, 2 or 3 at a time. I feel like that's when you, honestly, that's when you get to know the freshmen a little bit better, because it's just more intimacy. It's not a big group. It's It's really about them. I always say the fall is about us, the spring is about you. So what can you individually get better at? And so we'll do that until mid-February-ish, and then we'll get to spring season. And then at that point, we're training every day. We can't miss any class, but we can play 4 dates. But the players will say it's a pretty intense time because the strength and conditioning amps up, but we're still training quite a bit. It's a fun time because everyone's happy because everyone plays a fair amount, as we're trying to figure out maybe what our identity can be for the following year.
And then you've got you said you have 2 of the signees are coming in early, right?
Yep. 2 are coming in. And actually, we don't usually do that. They had approached us about coming early. And it's definitely a win for us. There's no question to have that chance to already start training with them.
Well, Coach, first of all, thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate taking the time. Congratulations on a great season. And let's keep rolling right along.
I appreciate it, Tim. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
So it's great catching up with Coach Booth. As she said, she's going to be president of the American Volleyball Coaches Association beginning January 1st. Her term starts then. She's like president-elect now, then she's president for a year, and then she's like still like kind of outgoing or president emeritus going out for a year and stuff. But she's, she said she learned so much and she makes so many relationships that helps them with scheduling and things like that. Sure. So great for her.
Yeah.
We want to thank Coach Booth for the interview, and that interview is sponsored by West Pacific Dental Group. Dr. Robert Hogan and his wonderful staff at West Pacific Dental Group are committed to providing you and your loved ones with this exceptional care in a compassionate and friendly atmosphere. Located in Omaha, West Pacific Dental Group is known to be one of the best dental care offices in the area. They believe in their patients deserve the best care, and they make an effort to make sure you always feel welcome and at ease, and they do. They're my dentist, and it's a really good experience when you're talking about going to a dentist. So they have a friendly, experienced staff that makes you feel comfortable and well-informed. And you'll leave the office well-informed and confident that your dental health is in good hands. So give them a call today, 402-697-0765. That's 402-697-0765. That is West Pacific Dental Group. Quick note on women's hoops. They beat Wyoming yesterday. So they keep rolling along. They're number 15 in the net now.
Good for them.
Yeah. And they're in the middle of a 3-game road trip. They opened Big East play on Wednesday at Marquette. And then just the one Big East game. And then they go on the road, travel east 120 miles to take on Drake, who is always a real strong women's basketball program. So once they get done with that 3-game road trip, they'll be back home. So best of luck to Flan and the squad as they continue marching on this season and continue being a better net than UConn, which who would have thunk that 10 years ago, huh?
We'll see if it lasts, but
yeah, UConn. I looked at their resume today, and they just haven't beaten, but they've just played a murder's row schedule. Yeah. I mean, my goodness. Okay, let's something we haven't done in a while. We're going to get back to shoot your shot, where we kind of make predictions and we rate them 3-point, free throw, layup, with layup being the easiest, 3-point being the most difficult. So you get 3 points for the 3-pointer, 2 points for the free throw, 1 point for the layup, and in inverse order, that's what you lose if you get it wrong. We've had Matt DeMarinis on the show a couple times, and he's got one here that is going off the board, and that is Creighton making it to the Final Four in volleyball. But we felt that was a 3-pointer, so he only lost 1 point there. So that's just a -1 for Matt. So Ross, do you have any new ones, or? Because you've still got on the board that Nova will win the Big East.
That ain't happening.
Well, you never know.
Long season. They look decent against you. Well, UCLA's down a little bit from where they were last year.
Right.
They beat UCLA the other night. Yeah, it's weird, that team that that you look at that roster. I can't understand for the life of me how they would lose 3 Big Five games. For those that are not familiar, the Big Five is essentially all the universities in the Philadelphia area, and so I think they lost to Penn, Drexel. Is that the other one?
Yep.
And I think LaSalle might have been the third.
No, they lost St. Joe's.
Or St. Joe's, excuse me. Sorry.
Yep.
So I don't understand it. So, but that I don't have a ton of faith in that one.
No. And you also have Creighton wins the Big East tournament. So that one's
very much
alive.
Very, very much.
Zach had Georgetown avoids a play-in game. Early returns are saying that might not happen, Zach. And you've got Kalkbrenner being an All-American. We deemed that a layup. So that's still looking good. Got any that come to mind that you want to throw out there? Maybe in the more recent games coming up.
Butler will not be in the play-in this year.
Okay.
And I think that's what I think that's an easy one in my opinion. Just watching all the other
right
teams.
now, I would say because play-in is so you got to have 6 teams at the bottom, right?
Yep.
So we've got the top 3 easy. Then Butler would have to beat out either Villanova or Providence. I don't
That's
know.
tough.
That
It
might
is
be
tough.
This might be a free throw, not a layup.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
because it's not a slam dunk.
That Providence team's pretty good.
Because they haven't played the toughest schedule in the world. Let's face it.
Yep.
They've got a really nice net ranking though for this early in the season. So, yeah. Zach, you got anything?
No, I don't. I don't think I do. No updates or anything. So
You have no updates. You are correct. We had one of our listeners say, home game in the top 10 crowds of all time. So, yeah, they use some formula to figure out crowd. So that's kind of like a tough one just because you don't know what the formula is to figure out. According to the last game against Iowa, there were, if you go by actual who was supposed to be at the game and so forth, that means they sold no standing room only because the attendance was exactly what the capacity was.
Okay.
So that didn't make sense to me. So, but then Rob said, yeah, they use some formula. I don't know what it is, but anyway, I would think the next 2 games are going to be, I think both are sold out, I believe.
Yeah, you would guess. I mean, gosh, Saturday night.
I know Villanova is. I
Yeah,
think
those are
Alabama's
easy.
got to be close.
I'd be stunned if both crowds aren't big time.
Boy, I don't want to say this while I think about it. So we're watching football yesterday, the late games, and we're in an establishment watching the late games. And my wife turns to me and she goes, "Is that such a huge game that Fox needs to advertise it every 5 minutes?" The Creighton, Alabama game. It was just every 15 minutes they'd pop it on the screen. Big East, it's Hoop Saturday. What do they call it? Big Hoop Saturday, I think. And they go Creighton, Alabama, and they just kept show highlights of both teams. And yeah, so they've been, you can't, that's one little thing of moving to the Big East that you don't think about. You can't buy that kind of publicity. That's just for people that have still don't really know much about Creighton. Oh, that's a school I never thought of going to. Boom.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So anyway, they're really boosting that. So, by the way, while we think about it, remember 7 o'clock Saturday, not the 1 o'clock you may have seen earlier. It's a 7 o'clock game. They moved it for TV purposes, so it's going to be a national game on Big Fox. I assume it'll be Gus and Jimmy Jackson, right? So that'll be awesome.
Should be a fun one.
So before we jump ahead to that, I want to talk about Bluejay Banter. It is the #1 site for diehard Creighton fans. It's part of the Rivals Network, widely recognized as a gold standard when it comes to recruiting information. Just had a recruiting over the weekend. If you're a member of Bluejay Banter, you're going to get a lot of information about that recruit in the days to come. We'll check in with high school and AAU coaches and with the recruits themselves, and also having inside access to the Rivals Network of top-notch recruiting analysts. Has a fantastic and active message board where Jays fans interact daily and discuss everything from game results to potential recruits, inside access to the basketball program with practice updates and daily updates on the team. And then as a member, be the first to get all the inside info on all the Creighton sports. So go there today. Go to bluejaybanter.com. Click on the button, new member, sign up there, and you will be glad you did. bluejaybanter.com. So we got an 8 o'clock games Wednesday night.
Yep.
In Henderson. Now, Vegas against UNLV. UNLV just played as part of this Jack Jones Hoop Fest, which is the same deal that Creighton was in last year. By the way, sponsored by Let It Fly Sports Bar. You'll see Let It Fly on the courts as you watch the game the other night.
I didn't realize that.
They played Loyola Marymount on yesterday and got beat. So they've had a game under their belts in this arena. So that's, maybe a little bit of an advantage. I don't know. They beat a good Akron team at home. But then, they haven't really done anything else. They're 3-4. They have the worst non-conference record of any team in the Mountain West right now.
Oh, wow.
Which is a little surprising. I think they're better than that. I don't think they'll stay there. The one thing I looked at their stats, they've been getting out-rebounded 3 rebounds a game so far this season. That could pose some real problems to them against the Jays. They're not particularly big. They've got a couple names in the roster. You'll remember there's a kid from West Virginia, I remember, that's on their roster. Very balanced scoring. They're averaging about 74 points, giving up about 74. They're 3-4, as I said, on the season. But I think it's a game, obviously, the Jays should win. Probably be about, what do you think, 8 to 10 point favorites?
Yeah, I would imagine in that range. Yeah.
So the game is on CBS Sportsnet, by the way. I don't know what all the channels are, but it's 221 on DirecTV. 8 o'clock, and then we will be right here live at Let It Fly after the game for the live post-game show. So, again, if you're watching on YouTube, join in here. Come on down to Let It Fly for a watch party, and then afterwards you can grab one of the headsets from one of the servers here, and we'll have the post-game show up on the screen for it, and you can watch and listen to our breakdown of the UNLV Creighton game, and Josh Jones is going to be here, so right there. I mean, that's worth your money right there, right?
It's worth the entertainment that Josh brings.
Great entertainment. Like we said, Big Fox on Saturday, 7 o'clock. You'll want to get down here early, people. It's gonna be nuts down here.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
We don't get a lot of 7 o'clock Saturday night games.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it's supposed to be nice weather Saturday
yes,
too,
it is.
So.
It's supposed to be nice, except for tomorrow. It's supposed to be nice the rest of the week.
Yep.
And couple that with the fact that it's holiday time.
Yep.
Perfect time to come on downtown, go to the Jays game. I don't even know if there are any tickets available yet, but but if there aren't, hey, be scouring the internet because people oftentimes had them. Another reason to join BlueJayBanter.com, we have kind of a ticket exchange among members there. So if you ever need tickets, we can set you up. Crimson Tide, they've lost to Purdue, Clemson, and Ohio State. So Purdue, obviously, number 1 team in the country. Clemson's undefeated.
Good.
Undefeated.
Yeah.
Ohio State's not bad. They had a little stumble over the weekend, but strength of schedule, they have the 33rd best strength of schedule in the country versus our 158. So they've been tested. So I don't want people to get too wrapped up in their 6-3 record. None of that. In net, they're 11th. We're 5th. So they're right there with us. So this is going to be a highly competitive. I think I picked this in our preseason picks. I picked this a game that Creighton would lose.
It's gonna be a really fast-paced game. That's Alabama kind of gets up and down.
Yeah.
Grant Nelson is, some people might know his name. He was the very talented forward from North Dakota State that this Creighton team even looked at in the portal and ends up going to Alabama. Him and Mark Sears are probably their 2 best players. Omaha Central grad Latrell Wrightsell also just transferred in from Cal State Fullerton. So they've got some nice pieces. But they played a tough schedule. The night I watched a little bit of the night that they hosted Clemson. Clemson really shot the ball well the night that they beat them at Alabama. So That Ohio State team's a pretty good team in the Big Ten. So
Yeah.
it's they've had a difficult schedule. Their record, I think they're going to end up being one of the top teams in the SEC this year. It should be a fun game.
Yeah, and I think people maybe downgrade them a little bit because last year in the regular season, they were so dominant.
Yeah.
I mean, they were the clear cut. Most people in their brackets had them winning the whole thing. I mean, Alabama was, the easy pick. So I think they maybe took a half step down in talent a little bit this year, and people are like kind of overlooking them. And half step down from what they had last year is not bad at all. So they're going to be a very tough out. We want to mention then the following game is Wednesday, the 20th, I believe, against Villanova, Big East opener. And that is the night they're retiring Doug McDermott's jersey. Now, Josh and I talked about this Saturday, and we're going to keep talking about it so we get the word out so everybody knows. That ceremony is not at halftime. It's not after the game. It's before the game at 6:40. So you've got to kind of think. Got to remember, it's a weeknight. Traffic's going to be bad the way it is. You got to kind of think that in your mind, tip-off is 6:30. If you want to be there in time for Doug. Tip-off is at 6:30, so that means you got to be in the arena by 6:15 at the latest. Get your seat, get your drink, be ready to go. Because it's going to be, everybody's going to kind of be arriving all at once, I got a feeling, on that night, rather than people trickling in an hour before, 45 minutes before, half hour, 15.
The game's at 7.
Yeah.
What are you saying about 6:30?
6:40 is when the ceremony is.
Oh, you're saying you should be in your seat by 6:30.
You got to kind of have in your mind that maybe it's a 6:30 tip, not a 7 tip, because otherwise there's no way you're going to make it in the arena, having to go through security and everything.
Yep, I'm with you.
So make sure you're in there. It's going to be a fantastic ceremony. Max said it's only going to take about 5 minutes. He told Doug, he's like, look, Doug, I know you hate this, but it's only going to be 5 minutes. It'll be over with. But as I was telling people last week, had a chance to be on a media call with Doug, and he's thanking guys like you. He said it's all about you guys. It's not him. It's you guys. And he's going to make sure you guys.
It sure as hell was not. I can assure you that. But no, that's how he is.
Josh, on the other hand, took credit for that. But he was very clear. He said, and I bet, you're right, I don't like things like, but I'm really looking forward to seeing my ex-teammates. So that's going to be cool.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It's going to be a rowdy atmosphere, I would imagine, especially if we can. That's why, in my opinion, selfishly, I'm like, let's go 2-0 this week, and it'll make it that much more fun.
Yes.
Getting to
and then we can beat
Wednesday.
that game and win that game, and then take 10 days off and get ready for Marquette.
Gosh,
Did you hear
that Marquette game's looming?
Yeah.
Right,
Did you hear what Mick Cronin said about Villanova?
Yeah, kind of a bizarre post.
Why would
presser.
you say that?
Well, he's not. He's a bizarre individual.
Yeah, I know it
to begin with, but yeah.
He said Dixon is not athletic. He got 10 rebounds. Yeah, Dixon's not athletic. He's a big dude.
Huge.
He's a big dude.
And he's a really good rebounder.
And then
watched him in our league.
Disparage the other kid like, well, he's from Richmond. You used to be coach at Cincinnati. It's not like that's the powerhouse of the world.
Right.
God, sometimes I just, ugh.
Yeah. Some of these coaches are different. I guess I should say.
I think he's feeling a little
Just their
heat because they're getting off to a pretty slow start.
They've lost a lot of guys, but I've heard his name floating around a lot for Louisville.
Man, I'm not sure I'd want to go there. You just got beat by DePaul.
Yeah, but that's a place where the right coach in there, you can win.
You would think
right
so.
away.
You would think so.
Kenny Payne is clearly not the right coach there.
I think they're wishing, Mr. Mack was back there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. St. John's went down to, what did they lose to yesterday?
Boston College.
Boston College. I saw Boston College in Kansas City. They're not very good.
They're okay. I've watched them actually a couple of times.
They're not very good.
No, they're not world beaters by any stretch. I mean, I also
they're
don't think.
Just not very good.
Tim,
they're just not very good.
You think you're making it seem like they're going to win 2 games in the ACC? I'm telling you, they're better than that.
Maybe 4.
Should we have a little friendly wager? What should we set as the
Here we go. Here we go. Call your shot. Here we go.
Well, we can't. They've already played ACC games.
Have they? So?
Well, they lost one in overtime to North Carolina State. I don't know who else they've got.
Well,
we can
North Carolina State. There's another team.
We can look it up quickly.
I will take that.
But no, I will concede that that's a bad loss by St. John's. Very much so.
Well, yeah, because they're at home. They're playing in the Garden for crying out loud.
No, that was at Barclays.
Barclays, I'm sorry, yes.
But no, nevertheless.
Yeah, nevertheless, in
your point is taken. So Boston College, we've got. Let me
look at their schedule.
I just pulled it up. All right. They've already got NC State as a game under the belt. They lost in overtime. That's their only conference game thus far. So they're 0-1. Okay. And what do we got here in January?
All right, here we go. I have to go way down to find them at 8-3, by the way. All right, so they got Wake Forest. Yeah, toss up. They ain't going to beat Georgia Tech on the road. They're not going to beat Syracuse. They're not going to beat Clemson.
They have 19 games left.
They can beat Notre Dame. That's 2. North Carolina, no. Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, that's 3. Okay, I'll give them 3. I'll give them one of those. Florida State could be 1. That's 4. Well, Louisville. Oh, I forgot they got Louisville in their conference. Well, that's like, come on. That's not fair.
They're already 0-1. They're already Tim. They're already 0-1.
They play Louisville twice,
they have
too.
19 games left. They have
6.
19 games
They're going to
left.
win 7. I just added it up.
Okay.
I back off. All right. So
we took a detour there on Boston College hoops.
So I'm going to make a prediction that is this even a layup? I'm going to make a prediction that Boston College will win less than 8 games in conference. That's probably too easy.
Okay.
Or don't you think so? Or do you think that's worth a 1?
If you just said they weren't very good, so if they went 8-12, that'd be they're flirting with 500 in the league.
So you think that's kind of a weak call your shot because even at that point we can't go low? I don't know. I think you're right.
Anyway, we'll monitor the situation.
Let's take this off.
We'll monitor the Boston College.
Yeah, I don't like it. I didn't know that. I'd totally forgotten about Louisville. I knew about Notre Dame, but they play both Notre Dame and Louisville twice. There's 4 wins right there.
That's nice to have on the schedule.
You're going to win at home against Florida State. They're not very good this year. You're going to win at home probably against who did I say? Wake Forest? No, who was it?
Wake Forest is not bad.
Yeah, but there was somebody else.
Okay.
Virginia Tech, they might win that game. So they're going to win. And they got Pittsburgh too. There's a lot of shady teams in the ACC.
St. John's has not performed to this point what everybody kind of thought preseason when you looked at their roster and who they brought in the portal and given the Patino bump. I think everybody thought that this team would be really, really good. And they've just been very average.
How about St. John's finishes in the bottom 4 in the Big East? That's originally what I wanted to do to start the season, and then I backed off it.
So we have DePaul and Georgetown are 1,000% going to be down there. I think
Seton Hall,
probably, yep. Then it gets dicey between the
I'm calling my shot.
St. John's, Xavier, probably the main 2 candidates left for that. You would think.
I would take Xavier over St. John's every day and twice on Sunday. So I will put that as you would put that as a layup, or would you say that's in the range of a free throw? That's a 2 level. A 1 level?
Whatever your heart desires.
1 level? I'll be nice and go 1 level. That means I'll lose 3 points if I'm wrong. All right. There it is. There's the call. But anyway, remember, Doug's jersey retired 6:40 on Wednesday the 20th. We want to thank Coach Booth for joining us. Really appreciate it. By the way, we mentioned getting downtown early on Saturday night and also on that Wednesday. Might behoove you to get a reservation right now here at Let It Fly. They'll reserve a table for you so you have one available. Just tell them the time you're going to be here. Show up on time. boom, you've got a table. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Because we see every
It's gonna be
week
crowded.
we're here, every game we're here, we see people get turned away because this place gets filled up, and there's not enough tables in it, even though it seats a ton of people.
It's gonna be really crowded,
And
no
this
doubt
is the
about it.
place to be before Creighton games, so make sure you should get that reservation in and enjoy the great food and drink here at Let It Fly Sports Bar, just a few steps away from the CHI Health Center. All right, Ross, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zach, and we will see you after Wednesday night's game right here for the postgame show.